Today I am going to discuss about classification of resources. Resources uh, resources can classify into following ways. On the basis of origin, on the basis of exhaustibility, on the basis of ownership, and on the basis of status of development. On the basis of origin, resources are mainly classified into two types: biotic and abiotic resources. On the basis of origin, biotic resources means resources obtained from biosphere and has living component, that is called biotic resources like flora, fauna, living component, and fisheries, forest. These are the example of biotic resources. Next to the abiotic resources. Abiotic resources means resources which those have not any living components, or it has not any lives, like rocks, minerals. These are the example of abiotic resources. Okay. Next is on the basis of exhaustibility. Resources are mainly classified into two types: uh, renewable resources and non-renewable resources. On the basis of exhaustibility, renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources means resources which can renew, or which can renew by chemical, physical process, or it is regenerate naturally. That is called renewable resources. Okay, like forest, sunlight, fisheries, wind energy. These are the example of renewable resources. Renewable resources also known as flow resources or continuous resources. Okay. And another is non-renewable resources. Non-renewable resources means resources which require to formations long geological time period, that is called non-renewable resources. It is also exhaustible resources. Okay, if we use continue again and again this type of resources, it will be exhaustible within few years. Okay, for example, minerals, rocks, fossil fuels, these are the example of non-renewable resources. Okay, non-renewable resources also known as fund resources. Okay. Next is on the basis of ownership. Resources are mainly four types, like individual resources, national resources, community resources, and international resources. On the basis of ownership, mainly individual resources. Individual resources means some resources which have owner which have authority of any individual person, like farmers farmland land, agricultural land, individual building, individual persons own car. This is the example of individual resources. Next is community owned resources. Some resources also owned by not only a individual, and individual, it had authority to a community. This type of resources also known as community owned resources, like public parks and burial grounds, village ponds, temples. These are the example of community owned resources. Community hall also one of the most important example of community resources. Next is national resources. National government or on some resources owned by national government, that is called national resources, like Taj Mahal, different type of resources, different type of properties like railways. These are the Taj Mahal, railways. These are the example of national resources. Okay, because this type of resources regulated by national or government of India. Okay, or any another country. That is called national resources. And next is international resources. On the basis of ownership, national and international resources. Okay, individual, community, and national and international resources. International resources, on the sea resources, in the sea resources beyond 200 nautical miles, exclusive economic zones, also exclusive economic zones, and these zones authorized by, and these zones regulated by international institutions. uh, any individual country cannot access this type of resources without permissions of international institutions. So this type of resources also known as international resources, like the polar region, okay, Antarctica, and exclusive economic zones are the example of international resources. Next is on the basis of status of development. On the basis of status of development, resources also we can classify into potential, developed, stock, and reserves. Potential resources means resources which have measured and surveyed already done, but it is not in use in nowadays in current situations. That is called potential resources. It will be used in further time. That is called potential resources. Okay, like example, in the Rajasthan, there are huge capacity and ability. There are huge capacity to produce wind energy, but nowadays it is not so used as we need. Okay, next is developed resources. Some resources which is using day by day and current situations, it is called developed resources. Like different type of resources we can use day by day, that is called developed resources. Another is stock resources. Some resources which are not are using in nowadays because of lacking of suitable or sufficient know-how. Okay, this type of resources also known as stock resources. It will be usable in further times. Okay, next is reserve resources. Reserve resources means some resources which is not using now, but it will be used in further need. Like uh, dam had huge capacity of water holding, and it will be used when required power generations or hydroelectricity. So these are the classifications of resources or types of resources. So resources can be classified on the basis of origin, biotic and abiotic, on the basis of exhaustibility, renewable and non-renewable, on the basis of ownership, individual, community owned resources, national and international resources, and on the basis of status of development resources, mainly four types, like potential resources, developed resources, stock resources, and reserve resources. So these are the major point of the topic. So I think you have got sufficient knowledge about it. Thank you.